Greetings, brothers and sisters. Tonight is January 23rd, 2024, and this will be session 17 of the UNIA-ACL Division 421 Officers Training, going over the Message to the People course of African philosophy as written by the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Tonight, we'll be going over questions from Lesson 15 titled Personality and going over the reading for Lesson 16 titled Propaganda, and hopefully we'll also be able to read Lesson 17 titled Communism. Before we start, first thing we want to do is our pledge to our red, black, and green flag. So if you would, please come off mute, repeat after me, or say along with me. I commit my body, mind, and spirit to the protection and defense and security of the red, black, and green.
Red, black, and green. I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa and the liberation of her scattered black children. I accept for myself and my descendants the teachings of universal African nationalism, and promise that our children will be instilled with purpose and themselves as African people.
With the purpose,
in order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail, but all black people are free and united.
In order that the
cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail.
Till all black
people are free and united
through
the
God, one aim, one
destiny.
All right. Yeah, we got to say that. We got to get in the same rhythm. Want to be able to do that in cadence. One example is if the well, I guess you would have a song at that point, but if well, you wouldn't even need a song. If a United States flag was to be raised up and people stood up and put their hand across their heart as they said the pledge, they would mostly say it in unison. We want to practice that same effort with the UNIA pledge to the flag.
What do you think our what do you think our cadence
We need to
should
practice
be?
it. Practice.
We'll practice it. We'll practice it. Yeah, we'll practice it.
I think 2 lines at a time would be good. Maybe like 2, 2, 1, 2. I'm not sure.
Well, what I would say is we want to practice it in a cadence that we can remember it, not in a cadence that we're reading it.
That's a good point.
So that's why I try to go at a specific pace. You know, if this was a poem, you know, it would be read like the lines on the page. But we'll just get there. Practice time. That's something that we're actually kind of defining as a people. There is no, I don't know if there's an official cadence to the pledge, even how it's broken up. Where it's broken up from sentence to sentence can change from division to division. So we're establishing our formal way of doing the pledge to the UNIA flag. Any questions, comments on tonight's lesson? On the lesson 15 that we read last week? No comments, no questions. Everybody ready? Okay. One anecdotal moment. We just had a high-level meeting. Let's not say what the meeting was. Brother Eric, you were there. It was a Friday meeting. And in that meeting, we had some representation from high officials in the Universal Negro Improvement Association. The discussion was about, at this moment, it was about leadership. And we were reading some of the course of African philosophy. I'll try to find the exact line. I'll just say this. A leader must have personality. He must be clean-cut in his appearance so as not to be criticized. But there was something else that he said about personality in here, about leading. One moment. This might not work out, but I'm gonna try it. Maintain a good personality. That's not it. Should have been in the early pages, like 19. 19. Okay, that's it. That's the only one. That's the only one I can find. Leader must have personality, must be clean cut in his appearance, as to not be criticized. But the point is, in the discussion, we were trying to define leadership and characteristics of leadership and understand what Garvey meant. But that term of personality was there. And the question came up as to how we define personality. But there were some, myself, I was there, as well as some other individuals that had gone through the course of African philosophy that were able to point to lesson 15. But my point is, as I've said before, we should be taking this course as a comprehensive training and a comprehensive lesson. It's not a independent or lesson by lesson training. It's everything goes together. So in order to understand what Garvey is saying in lesson 2, part of that implies that we understand what he means in lesson 15. So just a comment that we are getting a level of training that a lot of individuals in the UNIA are not getting. And there are some questions in the UNIA that are answered in this text. So just keep that in mind, and just keep the understanding of personality is a recurring theme throughout this text, and we should understand what Garvey means by personality. And that's what we will explicitly discuss tonight. So if there are not any questions, we'll start with the first question from the text. The text start with, it says, a thing to impress the world with is your own personality. What should your personality make people think about us? What should our personalities make people think about us?
That we're as perfect as we could be.
Yeah, I think that's, I know the word is perfection. You are a perfect person. And I know that's subjective, so let's not, just jump all over that. Let's see how Garvey says it.
It says, always appear at your best, even though you may be suffering under the greatest difficulties of strain, because by that very good appearance that you may win support to enable you to get out of your difficulties.
Yes, Lady President, hold on, you're going, that's a later, you're answering some later questions. This is just in the first paragraph. Actually, it's 2 sentences that makes a paragraph. A thing to impress the world with is your own personality. Your makeup as a man or woman must be so clean cut as to leave nothing to suggest the incompleteness of a perfect person. So based on our personality, we should give off the aura of perfection. And again, I know that's subjective. There is no such thing as perfection. But again, based on another person's opinion, that is something that we can achieve. So that's the first question, is the effect. Oh, I don't know if I was sharing. Yeah, I probably wasn't sharing. A thing to impress the world with is your own personality. Your makeup as a man or woman must be so clean as to leave nothing to suggest the incompleteness of a perfect person. So that's the first thing that he says in the lesson on personality, is that it should give the feeling or effect that we are a perfect person. Any questions on that? Okay. Man is always disposed to respect and honor those who show themselves observant to the rules of manly what and what. Man is always disposed to respect and honor those who display the rules of what?
Dignity and character.
Believe that is correct. Anyone else disagree or concur?
Concur.
Okay. Dignity and character, page 118. Brother Eric, you have that?
Yeah, I'm looking for this spot right here. 118.
It's just for getting a second paragraph.
Beginning of the second one, man. Oh, man is always disposed to respect and honor those who show themselves observant of all the rules of manly dignity and character.
Okay. This is where, we're getting into again, comprehensive is the word that keeps coming to my mind, a comprehensive understanding of the lessons. Lesson 15 is saying that man is always disposed to respect and honor those who show themselves observant of all the rules of manly dignity and character. And we should understand character from lesson 7. So if we haven't understood lesson 7, then we won't be able to understand personality. But character is a fundamental component of personality. Is that understood? But yeah, those should be, and we should understand that those are synonymous. Next question, number 3. Why should we always be clean cut and presentable? Personality. Why should we always be clean cut and presentable? Lady President. You're on mute.
Why we should be presentable is because the moment you throw off the reserve of your personality, you invite disrespect for your persons.
Yes, I was more so, it was what you had said previously.
Will always appear at your best, even
Yes.
though you may be suffering under the greatest difficulties of strain, because by that very good appearance, you may win support to enable you to get out of your difficulties.
Hold on. I actually got what you just said. Where is that at? The moment you throw off the reserve.
It's in the bottom of the second paragraph. Never be slack in your appearance. At any time in meeting another person or persons, be neat and clean in appearance, even in your own household. Because the moment you throw off the reserve or your personality, you invite disrespect for your person. So I guess that would be in terms of being presentable for
Yes.
the people you represent.
Yeah, that's it. You were on the disrespect was the negative side, and then the other side is support. So Garvey says by that very good appearance, you may win the support to get you out of your difficulty. So we must always be clean cut and presentable, even if it's difficult for us in reality to maintain that, because Garvey is saying that appearance itself could open up the doors that you need, to bring in more resources, in a sense. Questions, comments? We always must be clean cut and presentable, maintain good character, and have a presentation of a perfect person. These are the first fundamental components of personality. Questions, comments? Okay. When we present ourselves, what is the world always looking for first? What's that?
I said problems. They're looking for things to comment on.
Yes. I think the word I used was
He
defect.
said if there's one defect, they will say you are careless about yourself and therefore will be careless about other things. So they'll use the defects and apply them across the board to whatever you're talking about.
Yes. Yes. And this is one of those recurring themes. Does anyone remember where we talked about this and what was the context of it?
I feel like
Character, I think.
You might be right.
I think that's it also.
What was going on about leadership, but what was the context that you remember, Sister Diane?
I think character was the area where Garvey touched on everything relating to cleanliness, if memory serves me correct.
Okay.
That was a chapter that dealt with all of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Okay. But yes, just keep in mind that Garvey has mentioned this before, that anytime we present ourselves, maybe it was on elocution. Anytime we present ourselves, that's the first thing that people are looking for is defects. So that should be understood. It should not be an excuse, but it should be something that we expect. Okay, I just showed answer. To maintain a good personality, you must maintain all the rules of what?
Hygiene.
Hygiene. Yes, absolutely correct. Do anybody know why?
Is this the chapter where he's talking about that's definitely a different one, but he was talking about like flies in the mouth if we're going back to character and all of that.
Yes,
He's
that
saying
was
it's a big impact on how you're just received in general.
yes, exactly. Very good, Brother Eric. How you, I think received or perceived is another word, but how people view you. That's what this is about. So you know,
Actually, if I may, President, in this one, he says, your confidence. He was like, your appearance adds to your personal confidence. With this confidence, you may face the world and win. Not saying that what you were saying was correct as well, but it's driven towards oneself right here. Your confidence.
Yes, you're absolutely correct, Lady President. It's an expounding of the concept. In the earlier lessons, Garvey laid down that foundation of hygiene, and basically saying, you know, as Brother Eric had mentioned, well, you have flies around your mouth. Your perception, you will be perceived as someone that's dirty, unclean, unkept. In this lesson, he adds to that, and he adds to it's not only about how other people perceive you, but how you perceive yourself. And yeah, I don't want to say too much because he'll talk about as Lady President said, the confidence that hygiene gives you and the feeling that it gives you. But we are supposed to be confident individuals. We have a responsibility to organize our people. So we have to network, we have to work with others, we have to be seen, we have to communicate and have conversations. We should be presentable, clean, and confident. And that builds into our personality. Any questions, comments? What leadership characteristic does your appearance affect? I think we just kind of talked about that, honestly. We said the word
Confidence.
confidence, yeah. Your confidence, our confidence in ourselves. Your appearance adds to your personal confidence. With this personal confidence, you may face the world and win. With personal defects, you naturally lose confidence and lose generally. So bringing the personality and hygiene and confidence together, as well as character. But we should understand that, you know, being clean and being confident in our cleanliness is a fundamental component of our character and our personality. Questions, comments? Okay, and this question kind of summarizes the first section of personality. So what does a perfect personality, once we develop a perfect personality made through proper care of ourselves, what does that give us? What is the purpose of having a good personality, or what is the benefit of having a good personality based in good hygiene and good and strong self-confidence?
He says a password to anywhere in the world, socially and otherwise.
Exactly. A perfect personality made through proper care of oneself is a passport to anywhere in the world, socially and otherwise. So when it comes to us being accepted, us being invited, that's what it speaks to me. Everyone will want us to be in their rooms or in their spaces or in their gatherings if we can develop that type of perfect personality, one of cleanliness, of strong hygiene, of self-confidence. Yeah, and we're willing to present ourselves to the world, but it gives us access to the world. That's what it's about, according to Mr. Garvey. Questions, comments so far? Okay. Next question. Is this really this one? What should we not do at a public platform?
I think it's about chewing gum.
Chewing gum is in there, yes.
Not yet, right?
No, it's
Don't eat while you're walking.
anybody else? You're right there, Sister Diane. You're basically reading, stating the words in the text. Page 120.
Eating in the street.
After that,
Mhm.
Garvey says a public platform is not a restaurant nor a dining room. Don't eat or chew gum in people's face. So yes, you were right in regards to chew gum, but it's general. Don't eat in people's faces. It's always an ugly sight and shows gross disrespect for company. You may chew your gum in your home, but not on a public platform nor at a public meeting. So yeah, eating and chewing gum. We should not be eating in public unless it is a public eating scenario. Questions, comments? Okay, number 9, how many suits do we need? Also, how and why should we maintain our suits? How many suits do we need, and what's the purpose of maintaining them?
You only need one suit, but you must keep it clean
Why must we keep it clean?
because of the previous statements about appearance.
Yes,
Your appearances means everything.
yes. Mr. Garvey had a comparison. He said that it's better to have better for people to say something about you than something else. Do anybody remember that? I'm trying to find it.
They said it's better to take care of, it's better that they see, I'm not reading it verbatim, but it's like it's better to see that he really takes care of one suit than he switches his suit all the time.
Yes. Yeah, it's something about like if they see you wearing the same suit all the time, it's better that they say he only has one suit, but he takes care of it, rather than you have a bunch of different suits, but you don't take care of them, you don't keep them clean, you don't keep yourself clean. So Garvey says it's we only need one, really. Take care of that one as best we can. It's better to take care of one, have one and take care of that than to have many and not take care of them. And I want to say we've spoken about this one suit thing in another lesson as well, unless I'm just having deja vu. Does anyone else remember that? Yeah. So lesson 10, economy. What does Garvey say about buying a new suit? If nothing is wrong with your suit of clothes, don't buy a new one. All is needed is attention. And so with everything, you may badly need the money later. When trouble comes, you can run with your money, but you may not be able to carry all of the things. So this is another recurring theme. Another recurring example that Garvey uses is the example of frugality, I would say. But being resourceful. He spoke on this in economy. He's speaking on it again from a different perspective in personality, but from an economic standpoint, they both go hand in hand. From an economic standpoint, don't waste your money on multiple suits, and then from a personality standpoint, take care of the suits that you have. Keep them clean and keep yourself presentable. One suit well kept, page 120. And at the end of page 120 says it's better for the public to say that a man has been wearing that suit for a year, but it has always been well kept, than for the public to say that man changes his clothes, but is always dirty. So, all right, questions, comments? But I like that component of this course. We don't need to be extravagant. That's not a requirement, but a requirement is that we be clean and we take care of the things that we have. So even if we don't have 5 or 6 suits, the 1 or 2 suits that we do have, we should definitely be taking care of them. All right, if there aren't any questions, we'll continue. What does Garvey mean when he says that we should disappoint the public audience? What does Garvey mean when he says that we should disappoint the public audience?
since
Don't-
they're, oh, go ahead. I heard somebody else.
Don't give them nothing to laugh at.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Brother Eric, what were you going to say? I think
I was gonna try and translate the same thing. I was gonna say, since it just said they're looking for they're looking for defects, it said in the message, but if they're looking for things to, like he said, laugh at, or defects, then prove them wrong, give them something else to look at.
absolutely. Absolutely. Top of page 121. Never go on a platform with patch closed, because someone will see the patch and surely come to the conclusion that you are patched up all around. When you go before the public, remember that they are looking at you scrutinizingly from head to foot, back and front. They are going right through you, searching for something that reveals your true character. Again, character. Disappoint them always by giving them the best you have in character, which is outwardly represented by your clean-cut appearance. So character, appearance, personality, you know, these trinities is the best word that I can think of, but these concepts that are somewhat separate but also somewhat related, they should be spinning in our minds. But the key, I think, again, the key takeaway that I think I've learned over these lessons is that transition from unitary intelligence to universal intelligence. So go from the understanding of understanding personality as a unit, understanding hygiene as a unit, understanding character as a unit, but then being able to understand how those three basically coexist. How the three can exist as one. But there are several concepts like that in this text. But again, I think that is, part of the transition from ignorance to intelligence or wisdom, is being able to see how all of these things that we once thought were independent are truly codependent and correlated. So yeah, disappoint the audience by not giving them the defects they are looking for. So, all right. If there aren't any questions? Okay. Okay, next question. What was the story that Mr. Garvey had about the two beggars? What was he trying to communicate with that story?
Yeah. It was that there was one who was dressed pretty decently, all things considered, and he gave him more money than the one who was dressed a little dirtier, because he was like, this one will do more with it.
Yes. Anyone want to add to that?
People will judge you by your appearance, whether you are rich or poor, and they will deal with you accordingly.
Yes. So yes, according to Mr. Garvey, I don't know if it was a real story or if it was a hypothetical, but if he saw, two beggars, one that was not taking care of himself and one that was, he would give to the one that was, because he felt that the funds would be used responsibly. So that's something that we should keep in mind as we are, again, presenting ourselves, as we are trying to organize. Even if we can't, have the presentation that's in our mind, we should do the best that we can to be clean and presentable and present the closest thing to perfection that we can think of. But at the very least, we don't just surrender and give our audience things to criticize, because they will not want to support whatever we're proposing. Questions, comments? All right, what are some things that we should never make it a custom to? What are some things that we should never make it a custom to carry, and why? Personality. What type of things should we never carry, and why? Anybody?
We should
Despondency and sorrow. Never show it on your face.
Pretty much. And why is that?
Because it will give people a negative impression of you. You're a sad person. It's almost like the poor person. You know, you're showing sadness, and that would tend to turn people away from you.
Right. Yes, you're projecting sadness and depression, basically. Um, so what anyone else want to add before I go to the text?
You said it's better to be a pleasant corpse than a hideous, ugly looking one.
Yes. Yes. Never to make it a custom to carry distress in your face or in your eyes. Never carry yourself or to suggest despondency and overburdening sorrow. People will learn to shun you. Keep smiling, keep being pleasant all the time, even if you are dying. This brings me back to something else that Garvey said. Oh, Give me one moment. See, like, yeah, my presentation is not cooperating with me, but I know you got to know what you know sometimes. Got to be confident in what you know. What? There it is. Page 21. So page 21, this is an early lesson as well. Is this leadership? This is leadership as well. Never be a hog. It doesn't pay. You lose a friend every time you play the hog. Keep smiling with the world, even though your mother is dead. Smile with the world, and the world will smile back at you. Be vexed with the world, and the world will be vexed with you. Nobody is obligated to make you happy, so don't carry your sorrow to the world and on your sleeve. So in personality, he says on your face. In lesson 2, he says, don't carry sorrow on your sleeve. Leaders are not children. Oh, keep them to yourself and get out of them the best way you can. This is one of my favorite lines. Leaders are not children. They must not therefore act as children. So we must be positive. We must see the glass half full. We must be optimistic. So just a point to just showing the connection again. That's not something that a lot of people will do or Yeah, that's not something that a lot of people will do is be able to show the connection in lesson 15 and lesson 2. So, distress on your face, despondency, or overburdening sorrow, people will learn to shun you. Any questions, comments so far? So again, just to recap, we must express, as the first slide said, we must express perfection, or an example of perfection, or the idea of perfection. And we must do that so that we are welcomed anywhere in the world socially. I forgot the other words that are used, but we're welcomed. Now we're saying things that you shouldn't do, and why you shouldn't do them. You shouldn't eat in public. You shouldn't have too much to where you're not taking care of it. You should take care of the things that you have, and present yourself in as best manner as you can. And don't carry distress or stress on our faces, and bring that energy to other people. This is about personality. So if we want to have a good personality and accepting personality, we can't be the type of individuals that are constantly bringing burdens to others. We should be bringing positivity and solutions. Questions, comments? Okay, number 13, if we are going begging for a cause like the UNIA, what must we do? Well, what must we not do? I think he says it as I read it.
You mustn't go as a revealed personal beggar.
Why is that?
Because you're gonna cause people to say to himself, why should I give him money for a cause when he looks like someone who begs for himself and cannot be trusted with such a philanthropic responsibility for others?
Yes. And this is another one that was mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure, but talks about our appearance in our presentation. And if we're asking for funds and our appearance is lacking, people will automatically think that those funds will be used to patch our clothing. So we must be presentable. We must not present defects, especially when we are asking for funds for the UNIA. We must be as clean and presentable and as close to perfect as possible. But we cannot give the impression that if we receive funds, those funds would be used for our personal upkeep.
We can't look like we're destitute.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's very straightforward. Any questions on that? But again, we're talking about personality, and we're relaying, hygiene, and don't want to look like a beggar, destitute, someone in need. So we should understand these things in regards to character and personality. 14, how do we win a good reputation in the community?
By being up to date in your personality.
Absolutely. Win a good reputation in your community by being up to date in your personality. Let your individuality stand out clearly. Every man has an individuality. He is known by that individuality. The background of that individuality should be his clean cut personality. So I like that. And that's important because Does anyone remember the two quotes from the beginning of the text that Mr. Garvey gave in Detroit? The two quotes at the beginning of this lesson before we even read lesson 1. It was at the beginning of the introduction.
About Marcus Garvey personified?
Yes, that's the one I was looking for. So one of them was, I have given you all I know, was one of them. And the other one was, I'm trying to make everyone a Marcus Garvey personified. And as I've talked to people and as I've learned over the years, that is not a cut and paste, Marcus Garvey. I do not believe that Marcus Garvey is trying to make us exactly like Marcus Garvey. And I think this short paragraph does the best to explain that. Mr. Garvey wants us to understand his principles, his philosophy, and even, the foundation of his intelligence, where he got his intelligence from and his solutions and ideas from. But he still wants us to implement and behave and display our own personality. He says, by being up to date in your personality. That's a good one, up to date in your personality. I would assume that he's talking about up to date in style, so to speak. Obviously, hygiene. We want to, we should understand the foundations of hygiene, and we should be definitely clean and up to date from a hygiene standpoint. But I believe Mr. Garvey is saying up to date in our style and our clothing as well. But again, this is our individual personality. Let your individuality stand out clearly. Every man has an individuality. He is known by that individuality. The background of that individuality should be his clean-cut personality. So each individual man's presentation of clean cut is different. And it's not to say that anyone is better than the other, but it's meant to be that way. And Garvey is reminding us to stand on and present our own personality and individuality. Questions, comments?
I kind of went to the leadership one when he was talking about being up to date, because he also said that you have to match the time period you're in, or the environment. So your personality also it has to be unique, but it also has to kind of blend okay with the circumstances. Do you think that's separate, or do you think that would apply here also?
Well, I mean, what do you, when you say, again,
I'm looking for it now. I'm scrolling to look for but I remember that that because when a leader should be in tune with the, I don't want to say needs because of the context, but it was saying the needs and the everybody's got to be on the same type of wave for everything to be effective. So personality being received right. Yes, be unique, but at the same time, I think it also said to also you got to know where you are. Don't come in oh, I can juggle if it doesn't, if it's not really.
I understand. I win a good reputation. Win a good reputation in your community by being up to date in your personality. Well, what I see there is, this is similar to the previous last question on the last slide. What does a perfect personality made through proper care of oneself give you? A passport to anywhere in the world, socially and otherwise. Then this one says, win a good reputation in your community by being up to date in your personality. Last word is personality. Everything that we have been discussing tonight is laying out the definition of personality. So what I see is, what I hear when I see this is, when we can win a good reputation in our community by being up to date in everything that we have discussed thus far. So hygiene, character, our clothes, being the opposite of a beggar. That's what I take away from it. Brother Eric.
I muted halfway through. I forgot, but it was I understand. I was just saying, the given list, not the up until now given list. He's referencing the last few things he said, not really everything at once right there.
Right, right. Yeah, win a good reputation in your community by being up to date in your personality. So like I said, it's a kind of like it's a benefit, when we ask the question, what is the purpose of all of this stuff? What is the purpose of having a good personality? And this is what Garvey is giving the answer to that. It gives you a passport, socially, and it'll also, make you a well-received individual in the community. We good?
Yep.
Okay. 15, and we still got one more slide. What characteristic can undo a good personality besides hygiene? Besides bad hygiene, what can undo a good personality? What things should we avoid to develop a good personality?
Being lazy.
Being lazy, yes. You got that. So, Lady President, can you read that paragraph for us?
Don't be lazy in whatever you have to do, because that laziness will grow on you, and people will observe you and mark you as being late. If the news circulates, it will undo you.
Yes. Yes. So, trying to think which we had, but this would be like the kryptonite of personality is laziness. And we've talked about this before. I can't recall it right off the top of my head, but in other lessons, we've mentioned, things to avoid, things to stay away from. Character, I remember a prop to character is honesty. So dishonesty, we should obviously stay away from dishonesty. This lesson is saying, in order to have the presentation of a good personality, we must avoid the association of lazy. People, when people think of us, the feelings that people get, the thoughts that people get when people think of our names or see our faces, should not be associated with laziness. Questions, comments? Laziness, yes. Okay. So again, building on all of this, personality, character, reputation. How is your reputation tied to your name? How's your reputation tied to your name?
Because if you do something well, because somebody observing or coming after you will say this thing was well done by Jones or badly done by Jones. Your reputation is at stake.
Yes, sir. So recently we just went through a lesson on self-initiative, which taught us that we are our own responsibility in this world. But at the end of the day, everything has authorship. So whether we are, mowing our lawns, mopping the floor, um, trying to think, raking up leaves, whatever it may be, everything that we do, we put our name on. It's like, I remember in elementary school, we would always have to put your name at the top of the paper. Everything that you turn in, your name should be at the top of the paper because that is a reflection of your work. And now that we're grown, we're adults, we don't necessarily put our name on the paper, but it should be fundamental within our character. So if we are doing a cleanup or something like that, and somebody had the responsibility of mopping the floor, and then you come back behind them and you see that they didn't do a good job or they completely missed a certain section, that work is applied to that individual's character, whether they do a poor job or whether they do a good job. Our work comes back to our name, and that is a sign of our character, our reputation, and as Garvey is explaining, a sign of our personality. Questions, comments on that? But we must have a good name. Garvey also said it earlier in one of the lessons about a good name being good credit. See if I can find that really quick. Why is it a good policy to keep a good and honorable name? Page 61 is good credit. And that's ironically, that's lesson 7 titled character. So again, we've got to get to the point now, we've studied the foundation. And now that we've understood the foundation, it's just like math. When you get through the foundation of math, plus, minus, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division is the foundation. But then when you get into, calculus or trigonometry, you're doing much more complex equations, but at the end of the day, you're still using the fundamentals. And that's where we are with these lessons. We're getting into the application. We're getting into the detailed definitions, but at the end of the day, it's all still built upon the foundational principles that we discussed in lessons 1 through 7. Questions, comments? So yeah, lesson personality is it really is a repeat. Well, not a repeat, but it's a kind of a duplicate of character. It's this phase. It's the second phase's version of character. But as I said before, let me see if I got it in here. I hope I do. Yep. Wow, phases. So phase 1 was individual development. Phase 2 is community development. The last lesson on phase 1 was character. Last lesson on phase 2 is personality. But we should see, obviously, as I have pulled out some strong similarities between character and personality. Next lesson, 16, propaganda, is when we start to go into phase 3. But lesson 15 is the last lesson of phase 2. So it's talking about, as we said, phase 1 is individual, phase 2 is community. Now we're talking about our perceived character. And that's what kind of personality can be termed as, is we have our character, we have what we wish to create with our character, with our habits, with our routines. We know what we're trying to build, what we want the world to see as we build this character. But as we go out into the world, there's a certain perception, and that perception can be determined, can be called our personality. So it's how the community views our character. Questions, comments before we go to the last slide? All right. We'll try to go through these quickly. In regards to our occupation, what does Garvey consider a waste of time? Wait a minute. This is not in this, is it? No, it is. Yeah, in regards to our occupation, what would Mr. Garvey consider a waste of time? Yeah, that's it here.
To carelessly choose your occupational employment.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can choose your employment occupation and choose only that employment occupation that will give you complete satisfaction in this practice, to carelessly choose your occupation or employment and find afterwards that it does not suit your nature is a waste of time. So now we're getting into, again, we're out in the community, but this is our professions in the community, the type of work that we do in the community. When we are in the public eye, what should we try to maintain?
Always try to maintain the dignity of seriousness, or at least a poise that would suggest that you are a person of dignified reserve.
Yes, sir. Never be frivolous. Never be frivolous in the public eye, on the eye of company, because they will mark you down as frivolous and irresponsible person, as a frivolous and irresponsible person. Always try to maintain a dignity of seriousness, or at least a poise that will suggest that you are a person of dignified reserve. So again, we're going out into the community, and it's about how others are perceiving us. Do they perceive us as mature adults, as serious, as trying to make things better for our community, or are we not? Are we the beggars, or the individuals that aren't contributing to the community? Y'all know what I'm trying to say. So again, I'll keep repeating it, but it's about how the community is perceiving us. Okay, next question. In life and death, what are the 3 stages that we must go through, one time each, and what must we do at each stage?
Let's see. A man must be a man, a woman must be a woman, while a child must be a child. You are a child once, a man once, a corpse once. In the 3 stages, you must behave according to nature. Prance and giggle as a child, be serious and dignified as a man, and rest peacefully as a corpse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me find that.
What paragraph is?
123.
123.
Oh,
Bottom last paragraph.
A man must be a man, a woman must be a woman, while a child must be a child. You're a child once, a man once, and a corpse once. In the 3 stages, you must behave according to nature. Prance and giggle as a child. Be serious and dignified as a man, and rest peacefully as a corpse. I will keep repeating. It is about our perception amongst the community. Does the community see us as men and women, or do they see us as children? That's really what it comes down to. And men and women have certain behaviors and certain characteristics that they display. And if we are not displaying these characteristics, then in essence, by default, we will be deemed as children. Because there's only 3 stages: a child, an adult, and a corpse. None of us are corpses. So we are either behaving as children, or we are behaving as men and women. And I would like to say, you know, I'll go to the text obviously and corroborate it, but we have to ask ourselves as a people, what are the characteristics of adulthood? And for me, that answer comes down to the UNIA-ACL, self-reliance through self-governance. If we are not doing for ourselves, as Garvey has said throughout these lessons, if we are not building our own institutions, then we by default consider others superior and consider ourselves inferior. And again, that's a child's perspective. That's not an adult's perspective. So, you know, again, that's just the way I see it. If we as a people are not developing nationhood, developing systems of governance, developing systems to train us up into governance, then we are just perpetually developing a society
How
of
many are on that now?
individuals. And brother Emotep, I believe your mic is still open. Just to double up on this, oh, page 21, ain't that crazy? We just read, what did we just read? Never be a hog. Keep smiling with the world, even though your mother is dead. This is from lesson 2. And this was something that we read in lesson 15 that brought us back to lesson 2. And the same thing is happening again. And it's actually the same paragraph. Keep them to yourself and get out of them the best way you can. Leaders are not children. They must not therefore act as children. So again, Garvey says it's only 3 phases of life: a child, an adult, and a corpse. And previously in lesson 2, he said that as leaders cannot be children. So we should understand the you know, the activities that some of our brothers and sisters are able to contribute in are not for us. I'm sorry to say it, that there's something that are for children and there's something that are for adults. And we must understand the difference, and we must apply ourselves to the correct category. So any questions, comments on that? Very important. Oh, I didn't even switch over. Never be a hog, doesn't pay. You lose a friend every time you play the hog. Keep smiling with the world, even though your mother is dead. That's what we just read. And then later on in this same paragraph, leaders are not children. They must not, therefore, act as children. So we are either acting as adults or we are acting as children. And as leaders, the option of children is off the table. So very important. Very, very important. I can't harp on it enough. That's the fundamental component of these lessons: self-initiative, institutions. We should be doing for ourselves. We should not be waiting to be told what to do. And, you know, we should be asking for forgiveness as opposed to asking for permission. Questions, comments? Okay. All right. Next question. What happens when we continue to make the wrong decisions in life long term? When we continue to long term make the wrong decisions in life, what does that equate to or surmise to?
Says your life will end as a complete failure because you will never be able to master anything, because your whole soul and heart was never in anything.
Yes, absolutely. So again, this is taking it back to, getting out of the leadership, adult, child, getting into the personality. Personality is how we are perceived by the community. We want the community to perceive us as passionate individuals, as and the only way, well, not the only way, but we won't be able to do that if we are not choosing careers that we are passionate about. Because as Garvey says, we won't be able to give our entire being to that profession. So at the end of the day, you just have to, again, it's community perception. You got two individuals, one that loves their job and one that doesn't love their job. Obviously, they're going to have two different, as this lesson explains, two different personalities. We want to be of the personality that is passionate about our work. That's as simple as I can explain that. Questions, comments? But again, this is about, I can't say that word enough, perception. How the community perceives us. Okay, let's see what we got here. Before you can impress others and get them to follow you or imitate you or accept your suggestions of anything in higher life, what must we first show?
You must show evidence of success.
Yes, sir. Page 124, Mr. Garvey says, before you can impress others and get them to follow you or imitate you or accept your suggestion of anything higher in life, you must show evidence of success in it. No man who is not successful can teach others how to succeed. It is, I think that's the next word. Yeah, define impertinence. So very important concept, which we overlook. It's like we see it, we acknowledge it, and then we just put it in the back of our minds. But this is extremely important from a leadership standpoint, as we, develop teams and staffs. This is extremely important because you'll always have more people suggesting ideas than those that are willing to carry out the work. So this is a good prerequisite. This is a good prerequisite when it comes to ideas and suggestions that the leadership should pursue. Before we can impress on others and get them to follow us or imitate any of our suggestions, we must show evidence of success in it. Any questions on that? Trying to think. Let me see. It's like, but yeah, that's critical. It's like if I, suggested anything really, if someone suggests, the division should, wash cars or something. That's a good idea, but it's more substantial if you can show what success you've had in the past rather than just making a suggestion. Any questions? Okay, next question. Define impertinence. And let me know how this was used in the lesson. What is impertinence?
It means of utmost importance.
Impertinence means of utmost importance?
Yeah. Very important.
Really? Hold on. Sure.
I think so.
Anybody else? Anybody agree, disagree? I really don't know. I don't want to show what I've got.
It's usually impertinent, not nence. impertinent, but
Okay.
not impertinence. Is how it would be a better fit for that. But impertinence works as well.
And what you said, Sister Diane? What definition did you give?
Usually, of utmost importance. But usually the word is impertinent, not impertinence. So that
Yeah. I got not showing proper respect, rude.
Yes, that's what I was getting.
Impertinent.
Yes.
No, impertinence.
Oh, excuse me. I stand corrected.
So this reminds me of the lesson on God, I believe. And Mr. Garvey used a particular word. He said presumptuous. He said it's presumptuous for man. Basically, we don't have enough. Our unitary knowledge can't compare to universal knowledge. So it's presumptuous for us to think that. I think it was that God does not exist. I think that was the statement that he was trying to make. But um, that word.
Oh, I was off. Sorry. I was thinking of another word.
Yeah, that word was basically saying it's not right. Basically,
Right.
it's arrogant. I think it was related to arrogance. It's arrogant for us to think that we have that capability. This term here, impertinence. Let me go to the text on this one.
Bad manners.
You meant presumptuous as far as arrogance,
I don't
Uncle?
know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Okay, okay.
Yes. I spelled this wrong. How you spell it? Impertin, Tin. Page 124. It is impertinence. So let's read the whole thing. Before you can impress others and get them to follow you or imitate you or accept your suggestion of anything higher in life, you must show evidence of success in it. No man who is not successful can teach others how to succeed. And then he says it is impertinence. So what was impertinence? Rude.
Not showing respect.
Yeah, it's a lack of respect. It's rude for a man who has not succeeded through his personality to suggest to others how they can succeed. So that just doubles down on the previous statement. Doubles down on the previous statement. Before you can impress the world, to get them to follow you and accept your suggestions, you must show evidence of success. If we don't show evidence of success, it's rude for us to make that proposition, basically, is what Mr. Garvey is saying. And we should understand that as leaders, and those that follow us or support us should also understand that. They should not be making suggestions if they do not have if they can't show evidence of success, and it is rude for them to make proposals if they have not shown a level of success, according to Mr. Garvey. Questions, comments? Okay, to maintain a good personality and robust individuality, what must we keep? Maintain good personality, robust individuality. What must we keep?
Be sure to keep your body in proper physical condition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yes. Again, per my understanding, personality is how we are perceived by the community. If we, and we should understand that good physical condition it's crazy that we have to get to these levels of details and miss the obvious, so to speak. But good physical condition, good hygiene, those are people that you want to be around, basically, you know. So those are the people that society it's not just those two things, obviously, but compared to the contrary, we want to be in good physical condition as opposed to poor physical condition. We want to be in good hygiene as opposed to poor hygiene. I think that's as simple as I can state it. But it should be obvious. But what I want everyone to understand or take away is that correlation of personality and the perception of the community. Next question, best way to keep in good physical condition. Get a little health tip here from Mr. Garvey in the lesson on personality. But it's something that he mentioned before. How do we keep good physical condition? What did he say in lesson 4, elocution?
Just not eat eggs or something.
No, it's
He
not
said
eating
to
eggs.
purge. He said to do a weekly cleanse.
Exactly. He says the same thing here.
The purgative.
To do this, then at least once a week take some kind of effective purgative. So that word purgative, I remember the first time I read this course, or the second time, I had to look that word up, what purgative meant. But
Smooth move.
Look, every time I hear this word now, that's what comes to my mind when I hear purgatives. I hear smooth move from Sister Diane. Because when we was going over it, that's the first thing, like when President was like the definition of it. And Sister Diane said smooth move. And it's just like I've been hearing smooth move so around. Like my aunt has some in here now. So that's just crazy to me. So yeah, it's cute. Purgatives.
so
Thank you, Sister Diane. I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome.
So
All natural.
oh wow, this is page 66 though. This was the lesson on character. But it had the comment purgatives at least twice a week to keep your system clean, give you clear thought and vision, help keep your health in perfect state. 124. There's no better way than at least once a week, say some time of effective purgative. And then he says it again on the next page. He always prescribes a purgative. So the concept of a purgative, of cleansing our system, that should be a part of our habits at this point. Any questions, comments on health and purgatives? Yeah, it's not a lot of health in this text. So the little bit that we do have, we should definitely remember. Why should we not try to make an important speech with a clogged system? Why should we not try to make an important speech with a clogged system?
The poison of your system will get upon your mind and keep you so hazy in thought as not to reveal the mentality of your true self.
Absolutely. Straightforward. I'm not sure if this was mentioned previously, but it's just getting into the why we should have purgatives. But we should keep our system clean, our mind clean, our stomach clean, so that what we project is clean and clear. Questions, comments? Keep your system clear at least once a week. That's one. Last two questions. What does Garvey say is always prevention against threatening diseases? I just said it. That's funny. It's related to purgatives. That's basically what I just said.
You never try to keep your system clear at least once a week.
Clean system is the answer.
Oh, okay.
A clear system is always a prevention against threatening disease. Last sentence on the First paragraph, page 125. So a clear system. So purgatives, water. I would add in cardio to kind of blood flow. But there's obviously we can build on this, and we need to build on this to update, to have our personality up to date, as Garvey said it. Questions, comments?
A parasite, this is a sidebar segue real quick. A parasite, if you have a parasite inside you, like it can alter like your emotions. Like it can alter your stress levels, like it can like just alter your being. Like it's saying like parasites or like demons or something, but it's definitely important that you flush yourself so often. But yeah, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, it's true. And they talk to you. They'll tell you, give you hunger pains and
What?
stuff like that for things that your body's addicted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
Is
sister.
that something? Is that something that's developed in the brain? Is it like worms? Like what do you know what it's called? How do I? I'll just
There are various types. Tapeworm is one
yeah.
if you eat pork.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that like something that are you saying it's like
It's
it's a
called
component?
parasites.
Okay, so it's something that we can like just not that we just like
Cleanse your
consume and not
system of
know?
it. You can have it and not know, but
Yeah.
Or are you
sometimes
saying we develop it? Like we develop it, like we can develop allergies or maybe like mental health things? You're
like
saying we can.
like some people who eat pork can get tapeworm.
Yep.
And tapeworm can, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it can travel to various parts of the body. And it's called trichinosis or something like that.
I'm gonna look that up after this. That's interesting.
I know it's gross,
I
but
knew parasites for sure. I know like if you're eating bad, be very careful. Like you're cooking everything and all of that. But I didn't know that. I'm gonna look that up
they
more.
say we should avoid white sugar, white flour, cow's milk, and I'm trying to remember what the fourth one is, but sugar, flour, you know.
Bleached
Anyway, there's certain
things.
things
Yeah.
that. Hmm?
I
Oh
was
yeah,
I was
I
trying
think
to add to
white
your list.
salt
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. All
Huh?
those are bleached. All of those things are bleached.
Right.
Those are
Yeah, white
chemicals.
salt, white sugar, white flour, white milk. We have to leave whitey out of it.
I want to be quiet. I won't say anything.
Let me stop. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But
That's a
yeah, Sister Diane is correct. I have heard of
very correct.
I've heard of the parasites in pork, particularly. That's why a lot of our people don't have pork as part of their diet. But at the end of the day, after being in this land for hundreds of years, after going through slavery and Jim Crow, um, we have been fed several parasites over our sojourn here. And sometimes we still unconsciously consume parasites. So I would argue that many of us have parasites living within our body. But most of us have parasites living within our bodies. And we can contribute some of that to our mental condition. We're not in our right minds. And part of that is due to, as Sister Diane was alluding, there are parasites that are basically taking control and kind of turned us into zombies, so to speak. So clear system, very important. Yeah, we should be cleansing, purging, fasting as well, I would add.
Mhm.
So keeping a clean system. Questions, comments? We got one more question.
Mhm.
You need to let me know when I can bring this herbalist on to talk to us. But I know we have an agenda for the year, so it would have to be done very, very meticulously or carefully.
We can do it actually first or second Sunday of February. This coming mass meeting will focus on the schedule. We can obviously update and modify the schedule, but at least we wanted to give everyone the understanding that we have a foundation, and at least a black print to build from. So, but second Sunday in February would be fine.
Okay.
All right, last question. What is the most important organ, in Mr. Garvey's opinion, in regards to affecting the whole nervous system?
The stomach.
Stomach, yes. Yeah, last year we did this. Somebody said brain, and they're not wrong. Brain is the central part of the nervous system, but according to the lessons, Mr. Garvey, Sister Diane, do you have the statement?
I think uh
I've got it.
so I'm trying to see who gave the answer about being hazy. So it impacts your mind, whenever there are parasites in your system or when your system is not, clean. So but anyway.
Attorney Motep, you got the last paragraph on personality?
Yeah.
Yes, a heavy stomach or disordered stomach affects the whole nervous system. All the nerves are related in the human body and they depend on the stomach, chiefly as a main artery of supply. If the stomach grows sick, it sends poison throughout the whole body. Keep your stomach clear. It is better to be half hungry than wholly filled.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Attorney Motep. So yes, that the last answer was stomach, but we should, obviously, as I said, modern day, modern science, the brain is the central nervous system, to my understanding. But I don't think we can argue with what Mr. Garvey is saying and how he is explaining it. Our stomach is I guess the main feeding station of the rest of our body. What we put in our stomach is sent out through the rest of our body. So we want to make sure we have a clean foundation and we're sending clean elements to the rest of our body. If there aren't any questions, we will get into the reading for this evening. Any questions, comments? The stomach, okay. Okay, would anyone like to read? We do need to read quickly tonight. No one? Okay. Okay.
I'll read.
Well, I'll do Attorney Motep. Thank you for volunteering. Just for the sake of time, let me 1 second.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to read. Try to get 2 of them. I'm gonna put my glasses on.
You say you're gonna try to read two. You say you're gonna try to read two
Yep.
of them.
Yep.
What you mean 2 of them, President?
2 lessons.
Like 16 and 17?
Yes.
You know it's 9:45, President?
Yeah.
Okay, race first.
Race first. This is a recording. Yeah. All right. 9:45. Let me get started. Lesson 16, propaganda. Propaganda means to propagate or to make known extensively some particular phase of human intelligence. The desire is to convert or influence the people to do the acceptance of the truth. Hold on. The desire is to convert or influence the people to the acceptance of the truth of that particular intelligence that is sought to be spread among them. Propaganda can be true or false in its origin or intent, but is always directed at the public for the purpose of winning the support of that public to the sentiment expressed in the propaganda. If you hate a man, giving him a bad name well may explain one of the purposes of propaganda without truth behind it. Nearly all organized efforts have a system of propaganda to convert people to their principles and get them to support them, even though there may be no merit behind it at all. Propaganda is all around you to make you buy a special brand of cigarettes, although no good, but advertised to be the best. To make you drink or use a certain brand of tea, telling you of its wonderful qualities and its everlasting benefits when there's absolutely nothing to it, and so on. Before the war of 1914 to 1918, the Germans were known as the most cultured and scientific people in Europe. When the war started, the other nations, in order to discredit the Germans and hold them up to the world ridicule and the contempt of civilizations, released the propaganda that classified the Germans as Huns and barbarians. This also revealed how organized intention can be carried to the public for the public acceptance without thought. The press, cinema, pulpit, schoolroom are all propaganda agencies for one thing or the other. The pulpit carries religious propaganda, the schoolroom carries educational propaganda, the press carries out written propaganda. The platform carries on oral propaganda, the cinema carries out demonstrative propaganda. These methods have been devised by the white man to spread his ideas universally among men. That is why he is able, in a major sense, to control the minds of the people of the world. Keep that paragraph, especially the last part, in mind. I'll bring back some earlier lessons that touch on that as well. The white man is a great propagandist. He fully and completely realizes the value of propaganda. Therefore, you must organize your propaganda to undo the propaganda of the other people. If their propaganda affects your interests, The Bible is religious propaganda. The school book is literary propaganda. The novels and books you read are also literary propaganda, all calculated to bring about certain results beneficial to the propagandist. Never forget then that you are surrounded by a world of propaganda, all dressed up or cooed up to suit a doubtful public that is not careful about what it digests from without. The artist is also a propagandist. He paints pictures to convey the idea he wants to impress upon the non-thinking and doubtful public. The sculptor is also a propagandist. He chisels figures and portrays them to suit the aim or purpose he wants to achieve. The pictures of the Madonna and in Christ and of the angels are painted portraying a white race so as to inflict upon the rest of the world the belief that God, the angels, and the Holy Family are all white, as well as Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were black. They also paint the devil and the imps of hell black to impress upon the world the belief that all that is black is evil and all that is white is good and holy. Tear from your walls all pictures that glorify other races. Tear up and burn every bit of propaganda that does not carry out your idea of things. Treat them as trash. When you go to the cinema and you see the glorification of others in the pictures, don't accept it. Don't believe it to be true. Instead, visualize yourself achieving whatever is presented, and if possible, organize your propaganda to that effect. You should always match propaganda with propaganda. Have your own newspapers, your own artists, your own sculptors, your own pulpits, and your own platforms. Print your own books and show your own motion pictures and sculpture your own subjects. Never accept as your subjects of another race, but glorify all the good in yourselves. Never accept as yours subjects of another race, but glorify all the good in yourselves. Keep your home free and clear of all alien objects of glorification of other races. Otherwise, your children will grow up to adore and glorify other people. Put in the place of others the heroes and noble characters of your own race. Never allow your children to play with or have white dolls. It will give them the idea of having white children themselves. Give them the dolls of their own race to play with, and they will grow up with the idea of race love and race purity. Watch the newspapers, magazines, and journals daily for propaganda against your race or your institutions, particularly against the UNIA. Rush into print immediately a defense of your race institutions and organizations from any attack. Never allow an insult propagated to go unanswered by you. Be ever vigilant to down anything by way of propaganda that dishonors or discredits you. Don't help the other fellow to carry on propaganda against yourself or your race. All propaganda comes from the arranged desires of individuals and not from a race as a whole. It is the thinkers and leaders who originate propaganda. By insisting on its wide distribution, they get other people to think as they think. Knowing where propaganda comes from is an exam question. So take note of that. Don't accept the thoughts of others through propaganda unless it coincides with yours. Don't follow the band down the street because it plays sweet music to the propaganda of the circus manager. He may lead you into the circus tent and take away your pocketbook. That is to say, don't get on anybody's bandwagon because they may drive you to hell with his sweet music. Like the Pied Piper of Hamelin who played his sweet pipe and led the rats out of the city and into the sea and drowned them. Propaganda organized by somebody else is always calculated to take advantage of you. Don't help them do so. Always ask, what is this about? What is the object of this? Who has sent this out? What is he aiming at? Will it hurt me and my race? Is he trying to get an advantage over me? Is it honest? Is it true? If you ask these questions of all propaganda that comes up before you swallow it, you will be able to take care of yourself. Don't sing the songs and repeat the praises that glorify other races. Sing your own songs and recite your own praises that glorify your own race. For instance, it is foolish for Negroes to sing or say, Britons never shall be slaves, when they themselves have been slaves and are likely to be slaves if they don't impress upon their minds that they as Negroes will never be slaves again. Sing, therefore, Negroes shall never be slaves. Be careful how you sing religious hymns that have been written, dished up, and made popular by white writers to glorify the white race in the name of God, taking advantage of the silence of God to impress inferiority upon your race, such as the great white wings of angels, the great white throne of God, wash me white as snow. All these are damnably vicious forms of propaganda against the black race. Though my sins be as scarlet, they may be whiter than snow. Wash me in the blood, and I shall be whiter than snow. All these things reflect the propaganda designed by the white man to glorify his skin and his race against the black imps of hell and the black devil and the black pale of doom. The idea of the white man making black a symbol of mourning and sadness is just to show the extreme of the purity of whiteness and its joy and happiness. Reverse this if possible. Teach the Negro that when he is in mourning, he should wear white, and when he is happy, he should wear black. This is meeting propaganda with propaganda, the hatchet with the hatchet, the stick with the stick, and the stones with the stone, the stone with the stone. Everything on earth is man's creation. So out of man's propaganda in man's mind, he has created his special system of opinion to meet his designs. Therefore, customs are based upon acceptance of propaganda skillfully engineered. That's another question. How are customs based? Have your own propaganda and hand it down through the ages. Write your own poetry and recite it. Compose your own songs and sing them. Write your own interpretation of the scriptures and history and teach them as far as the interpretation of others affect your race. Challenge the thought of any book or other literature that dishonors or discredits you in any particular way and give it the widest publicity so as to undo the harm intended. Remember Remember always that an error not corrected ultimately becomes a fact. Never allow false statements or allegations against your race to become current and pass into history as if they were facts. War is the hellish passion. War, and we'll only read this lesson. We don't have time for. I thought this was shorter. War is the hellish passion of man let loose in opposition to man. It sums up the cruelty of man towards man. It always aims at the stronger taking advantage of the weaker to gain that which could not have been acquired otherwise because of the failure to use human reason. War comes when men fail to adjust their differences with reasoning. Always be prepared for the exhibition of the vilest passions of men in war. Man has always warred against his fellow man. It started with Cain against Abel and has continued down the ages and shall ever be so as long as man remains an unreasonable creature. No generation has shown that man intends to become wholly reasonable. Therefore, in time of peace, prepare for war, so as not to be caught unprepared by your enemy, who will naturally be the stronger if he is prepared while you are not prepared in using the implements of warfare. War is not a good thing, but man is also not a good being. You must expect war from his disposition. All things are fair in war to win the advantage over your enemy. When there is war, use all the implements of your disposable. When there is war, use all the implements at your disposal to defeat your enemy. Do not discuss terms while you are warring. Discuss them after you are victorious. When war comes, all resources of intelligence and wealth, all utilities are placed at the service of those who conduct the war to make them victorious on behalf of those for whom they are warring. Therefore, have in view the obtaining and controlling of all such resources, factors, and utilities that may be necessary as ammunitions of war. Let me read that again. Therefore, have in view the obtaining and controlling of all the resources, factories, and utilities that may be necessary as ammunitions of war. There may be righteous wars as well as unrighteous wars, depending entirely upon the civilization that makes the war or defends itself in war. It may be war to put down. It may be war to put down human abuse in favor of human virtue. The war makers have always justified war in some way or another. If you become engaged in a war, always have justification for your engagement. If the war is not yours, get something out of it before you go into it and complete it for the good of others. Never go into war foolishly. Never sacrifice your life without good results for the cause. War is the best time to take advantage of your transgressor, whoever he may be. Whenever he is engaged in war and he promises you nothing, whenever he is engaged in war and he promises you nothing, you will never get anything from him in a time of peace. Therefore, during the time of war, make your bargains before you help anybody else in war. If you are suffering from the abuses of others and there should be a threat of war against them from some other source, encourage it. Encourage it because it will be your chance to force a square deal. The more other people war among themselves, the stronger you become if you exercise good judgment. Divide your enemies so as to gain your advantage. Always keep them divided as to be able to gain the advantage. Your only hope of escaping the hate and prejudice of other people is to keep them severely occupied with other problems. If they have nothing else to attend to, they will concentrate on you and your problems will be aggravated. While others have gone to war, try to be at peace among yourselves to gather. While others have gone to war, try to be at peace among yourselves to gather the spoils of war. Never talk war openly to your enemies, but be prepared for war. If you talk, it will become prepared. If you talk it, they will become prepared, waiting for you. Keep the other races divided and fighting each other as much as you can so as to take advantage for yourselves. If they have no other problems to occupy their time, they will turn to you and turn on you. Keep them occupied otherwise. The more confused they are worrying over their troubles, the more time you will have to get out of your trouble. That completes lesson 16, titled Propaganda, with the section titled War. Any questions, comments before we close out?
It's good that the UNIA that made their own doll factory. That was amazing.
Yes, yes. We have to bring that into modern time. As Garvey said, we fight propaganda with propaganda. So if they are producing a propaganda of white dolls and white is better, white is more attractive, more pleasing, we should be producing propaganda that states that black is just as, if not more, beautiful.
But they went another step. They made a factory, a manufacturing company distributing black dolls.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Our attempt to fight propaganda in modern time for us as Division 421 has been our events. Instead of promoting Halloween, we've promoted Ancestors Day. Instead of promoting Thanksgiving, we promoted giving of thanks. Instead of promoting Christmas, we promote Kwanzaa. And we have to continue to do that. But any propaganda that is being put upon us, we have to find a way to promote that which is great within ourselves and not just rely on what we are being given. But yeah, we do need to get back to production. But it's interesting because I'm still struggling with that word of desire. And I feel like that's where we are with our people, is reactivating that desire to love ourselves, to support one another. Because in a capitalist, and this, I think Garvey, I don't know if he's spoken on it yet. I think he did. No, I think he'll talk about it a little bit more. But he talks about capitalism he promotes capitalism as a philosophy of, he considers it a philosophy of fairness in his mind, because it's looking for the most profit. So what I've talked to individuals about this in the past, and they've disagreed with me, but it is what it is. But pure capitalism is not racist. Although capitalism has been applied to be racist, pure capitalism itself is not racist. You're trying to get the most benefit at the least amount of cost. So whether that comes from a black person, a white person, a Chinese, a true capitalist is looking for the lowest cost at the highest benefit. One of the things, hold on one second. But one of the things that we've struggled with as a people is maintaining our black economy. So when it does come a time where we have, like FUBU, Sean John, Beyonce had a clothing line at one time, Rockaware, where we are producing things for ourselves, one of two things happens. And it seems like more of the latter. One is the businesses aren't supported and they go out of business. That's one of the issues that we have. The other is that the businesses are supported and then we sell the business to somebody else. But we don't seem to, and this is this stresses the importance of UNIA philosophies. Ownership should not be tied to, well, all of our ownership as a people should not be tied to us as individuals, but there should be a trust that's established to where we have a level of ownership that survives throughout generations. But it's a trust established for the race and not for any particular individuals. But my point is that, yeah, we've struggled with that, being able to sustain Black businesses is my point. So we've had these things, we've supported these things, and for some reason they have not stayed around, even though we've, at some examples, like I said with the clothing, they've been profitable. So it's not always that we're not profitable, and that's why we go out of business. Sometimes we are profitable and we sell the business. But Sister Diane, were you going to say something? You're on mute if you say anything. Okay. Well, if no one has anything, it is.
I had something to say, President. It was me.
Okay, sorry, Lady President.
I was asking like what made you consider it, what makes capitalism seems like racism?
No, I said capitalism. What makes capitalism seem like racism?
Yeah.
It's the history of the United States. It all comes down to, and I might be wrong, but it all comes down to classism. That's, even outside of the United States, people have issues of classism. Even in the continent, in Africa, you still have classism. So even if you're in an area where everyone looks the same, there's still a class structure. In America, our class structure has been tied to our race. In America, the part of the establishment in the history was that the lower class would be occupied by the darker race. So those two things became synonymous. But what I'm trying to say is in a pure capitalist example, racism is about the control of, as we understand, it's about the control of resources and access of resources. So a racist individual that is trying to have something done, if I'm trying to get my yard cut, and a white guy comes and says he'll cut my grass for $20. And then a Mexican guy comes and says he'll do the same thing for $50. A racist person will say, I can only work with, even though the white person has a better price, I can't work with them because of their race. That is a racist. A capitalist is someone that says, what is the price? What is the outcome? And they make a decision based upon the price and the outcome, not based upon the service. That was what I was trying to say. In America, we're very racist to where, even if someone is willing to do something at a better price, we wouldn't deal with them because of race. That was what I was trying to say.
Okay, President, race first.
Race first.
And also the funding too isn't always, I mean, it's gotten better, but the funding wasn't always readily available in terms of who starts business and things of that nature. But it has gotten better.
Yeah, but yeah, that's again that the practices of America have been deemed racist. When you look at the behind the scenes, so a lot of, like, when it comes to home loans, in the process, some people get loans, some people don't. But when 5 years later, when you look back at the data, you look at who got loans, who didn't get loans. What were the race of those who got loans? What were the race of those who did not get loans? What were the qualifications of those who got loans versus the qualifications of those who didn't get loans? That's where we start to get into, there was some racial decisions being made. Because obviously, when you look on paper, the qualifications match, but the difference is in the race, and they were treated differently because of their race. So, all right. I don't want to go into that too much if we don't need to, but good class tonight, and we'll get some rest and get back next week for communism.
Wait a minute, President. We're not going into 17. I was ready.
It is 11 after 10. No, we are not. We are not.
Okay.
We are not. I'm
All
gonna
right.
try to get us caught up. But no, it's 11 after 10. Let's just get ready for the questions on propaganda and the reading for communism next week.
Thank you for reading,
chapter
Brother John.
17.
No problem. Lady President, what's that?
Chapter 17.
Yes.
Okay.
That'll be the reading for next week. But I just got to get back on schedule, on time. Nothing is wrong. Nobody's doing anything wrong. We're going in depth into the questions. And I'm going back to previous lessons to show the connection in the lessons, which is time consuming. But it has taken a little more time than it has in the past, but that's natural because I didn't necessarily understand the connections last year. So this year has been a little bit longer.
President, should we come next Tuesday an hour earlier just for the sake of catching up so that we can get more time?
What y'all think?
Membership, would y'all like to come an hour early next Tuesday?
That means we start at 7 next Tuesday.
To start the reading or to do the questions to get which part are we getting ahead on or with?
So we will start with the questions.
Okay.
And then probably read 2 lessons next week. Read communism as well as commercial and industrial intercourse.
Okay.
Let's say tentatively at this point, 7 o'clock. Yeah, we'll just say tentatively right now. I do think it'll work out. It's going to work out, but we can say tentatively 7 o'clock next week. And when I say it'll work out, I meant the entire schedule. So even if we don't do 2 lessons next week, it'll still work out in the schedule. I think.
Okay, race first, brother.
Yeah, we either 2 things. And I was leaning more so towards the latter, but we can either have more time in one of the meetings or we're going to extend it out a week to where we thought we were ending, first week of March, it'd be in second week of March.
Say that one more time, President.
I said my original thought was to extend the class 1 more week. If needed. So right now it's the 23rd. Let's see if I'm sharing the right thing. Yeah, I am. Right now it's the 23rd. We were supposed to be reading commercial and industrial transactions today. We haven't read communism yet. We just read propaganda today. I do have February 27th already listed as a makeup day. So we can use February 27th as a actual day instead of an open day. And then that will be first and second week of March will be the exam. So this is what I was saying. I got this built in. We have some makeup time built in, even though we're a little bit off schedule. If there aren't
Vice
any,
President.
thank you, Lady President. If there aren't any questions, we get prepared to close out. We should meet on Thursday to follow up on our business discussion. I will send out the presentation that First Vice President put together. I'll send that out today. He sent that to me actually a while ago. I've been sitting on it. That's my fault. But just a heads up, some of us will be meeting again Thursday. We have the Unity Banquet on Saturday. Sister Diane, Lady President, you all are taken care of. And then mass meeting on Sunday. So it's been a busy month, been an effective month, and we will continue on Thursday.
Okay.
All right.
Praise first, everyone.
It's first, Brother Eric. You want to do us the honor, or Lady President? Could you close us out?
Absolutely, I can. All right, family. Give me your right fist in the air. Repeat after me. One God.
One God.
One aim.
One
aim.
One destiny.
One
destiny.
Africa.
Africa.
For the Africans.
For the
Africans.
Those at home.
Those
at home.
And those abroad.
And those abroad.
Race first, family.
Race
Peace.
first.
Race first.